Good morning. So last class we started to write some central idea statements for On the Rainy River. I'm going to do a quick lesson on editing central idea statements to make them a little more clear and concise, and then you'll be doing a lesson on your own on ranking, rewriting, and finding evidence for central idea statements. So today you will refine and rank central idea statements, edit and rewrite the central ideas to make them more effective. And then finally, you will find relevant evidence to support a strong central idea statement. So in this box, it just states that your central idea statements were mostly accurate to the text. So looking at them, most people had statements that were accurate. However, some of them needed to be refined so they are more formal and concise. So what I mean by more formal is you need to remove words like you, us, and I. So you see in red, I've highlighted this person used you about 4 times. That is informal. You don't want to be talking to the reader. That's just awkward and weird. That's like second person. And then the other thing is to make it more concise. So again, this person said a lot and they could have really made that more clear and direct and to the point, which is what concise means. So this statement says, when you feel ashamed of what you've done, but you want the feeling of it gone, you could tell your story, and telling your story, you can get more courage. So I see those idea topics of shame and courage, and one person had the same type of idea but made it a little more concise. And these are actual statements from your class. So it says, it takes courage to talk about those things you are most shameful of. So again, that's a little more clear and concise. It's getting to the point, the idea that Tim wrote this story to be more courageous and get rid of the shame and guilt that he's had for all of those years. But we still have that informal language of you. So we want to remove that. So I rewrote this just to remove that, and I just wrote, it takes courage to admit stories of a shameful past. So a lot of times it's just reworking the wording so you can get rid of words like things and you. And then the next thing you need to ask yourself is, can my central idea statement be supported by strong relevant evidence from the text? So on the next slide, that's kind of what I'm trying to answer. So we said our central idea statement should be a message from the text written in one concise statement. So we have our concise statement. It takes courage to admit stories of a shameful past. It needs to be supported by evidence, and the other two things we covered too. So it should not include I, not be text specific. So it takes courage to admit stories of a shameful past. Yes, readers find it courageous that Tim was able to finally tell a story after 20 years and admit his shameful past. So it's likely that this was a potential message the author wanted to convey. However, that first statement, I feel like I would mostly be finding evidence just from that first page or first paragraph where Tim talks about finding the courage after 20 years to admit this story that he hasn't told anyone, not even his wife, not even his parents. And then looking at the second statement, I thought it was stronger because I would be able to find evidence throughout the text to support this second central idea statement, which says being courageous is more difficult when faced with the shame from being judged. So looking at that statement, I could find that piece of evidence from the beginning. So again, on page 1, Tim says, for more than 20 years, I've had to live with it, feeling the shame, trying to push it away. And so by this act of remembrance, by putting facts down on paper, I'm hoping to relieve at least some of the pressure of my dreams. So again, he's saying after 20 years, he can hopefully get rid of some of that shame. Also on page 12, Tim says, my conscience told me to run, but some irrational and powerful force was resisting like a weight pushing me toward the war. What it came down to stupidly was the sense of shame, hot, stupid shame. I did not want people to think badly of me. Not my parents, not my brother and sister, not even the folks down at the Gobbler Cafe. I was ashamed to be here at the Tip Top Lodge. I was ashamed of my conscience, ashamed to do the right thing. So he wants to run to Canada at that moment, but again, the shame is holding him back and making him think that he should probably go to war. In addition, on page 17, this is when Tim is in the water and he realizes that he can't swim to Canada. He realizes it was a pitiful fantasy. He says at the bottom, I would not do what I should do. I would not swim away from my hometown and my country and my life. I would not be brave. That old image of myself as a hero, as a man of conscience and courage, all that was just a threadbare pipe dream. At this moment, Tim's in the water and decides he can't go to Canada because of the shame from his community and his parents that he would feel. So instead he goes against what he believes to be courageous. So it's difficult for him to be courageous because he is faced with that difficulty of being judged. And then finally, of course, on page 19, he says, I couldn't make myself be brave. It had nothing to do with morality, embarrassment. That's all it was. So the embarrassment of people who were what he calls an audience to his life swirled around in his head. And then ultimately he made the decision to go home so that he would go to the war. So again, connection to that central idea. So although both of these are good central idea statements, they're clear, concise. They don't have informal language. The second one is better because it can be supported with more evidence. And that is your mini lesson on central ideas and making them better. So what you're going to do now is go to the modules. You're going to click on the ranking and refining central ideas assignment. Directions are at the top for you to read. I'm going to go through them verbally by looking at what you will pull up. So it's showing in this box right now that I can't get to the Jamboard. This is an assignment on Jamboard, so make sure you click that blue hyperlink if that's happening for you. And I'm just pulling the assignment over. So as the directions state here, there are 3 slides. The 3 slides are not connected. They all have to do central ideas, but they're like 3 separate activities, so keep that in mind. So on the first slide, and you can see the number, what number slide it is at the top here, it says on a post-it you're going to rewrite one of the central idea statements to make it more concise. So that means removing any unnecessary wording or repeated ideas and any informal language. If you want a point of extra credit, then you can complete both. So you will go over here. Remember, the post-it is, or the sticky note is about halfway down. You just click on it and you'll type the rewrite. So the first central idea says, going against your morals and what you feel is right can cause us to feel shame or embarrassment. So really you want to get rid of the words you and us, and if you can get rid of any repeated ideas. So for example, if I see shame or embarrassment, for me they're kind of the same in this context, so you might want to delete them. This number 1 you should be able to fix just by deleting some words. Number 2, again, is just a little wordy. It's a great central idea statement. I think you could just make it a little more concise, so do that if you want an extra point. On the second slide, and you just get to it by clicking over to next frame, this is a central idea rank activity. So you're going to rank the quality of the central idea statement by dragging each one over to the appropriate number. So one you think is the best, you would bring to 1, the second best 2, third best 3, and so on. In this column, you're going to explain the reason you ranked the best central idea as the central idea. So let's say I thought the pink one was best, I'd put it here, and then I'd click in here and write why it was the best based on the qualities of a good central idea statement. And then for number 4, whichever you think is the worst, you're going to do the same. So you would just, or not the same, you're going to rewrite it to make it better, just like you did in the last slide. Finally, on the third slide, like we talked about, the best central ideas are the ones that can be supported by strong, relevant evidence from the text. So you have 2 central ideas. I chose the ones that I thought were the strongest from the class, or some of the strongest. I used some of my examples too that were stronger. You're going to choose which you think is the stronger. So if I thought number 1 was stronger, I would just simply delete the second one. You just click on it and hit delete. Or you can move it over if you want. So you have your strongest one in the center. And then you're going to find 2 pieces of evidence to support the central idea you think is the strongest, right? And both of them are strong. So really it's just which one you think you can support with better evidence, and then finding that evidence. Once you're done, you will go back to the assignment and click submit. And that is all we will have for today.